We have breaking news on the carbon tax. This time it's provincial, okay? So shift your attention to Ontario provincial politics. So the new Ontario Liberal leader, Bonnie Crombie, has now come out and said that she too is opposed to a provincial carbon tax. You see that little piggy? You better pack an umbrella today because he's going to start flying anytime now. The reason why it is so important to highlight the fact that the Ontario provincial Liberals are now opposed to a carbon tax is this. It was the Ontario Liberal government, provincially, that messed up their power system so badly that average working people couldn't afford their power bills. You might remember a little more than 10 years ago, we had images of ladies on TV crying, saying that they couldn't keep the lights on in their rural homes because their energy bills were now $1,000 and something. Even suburban and urban ratepayers were being forced to go to the food bank, okay, because they couldn't afford their power bills. Look it up. They dubbed it energy poverty, okay? The reason why I'm giving you this backstory about Ontario Power back in the day is because it was the Ontario Liberal government of then Premier Dalton McGuinty and then succeeded by Premier Kathleen Wynne who messed that up so badly, okay, that made those energy bills so sky high. Now, how does this tie into the carbon tax? Well, when the Ontario Liberal government was voted out of power, the brain trust that invented that entire problem, that energy problem in Ontario, they didn't just disappear. No, these folks never do. They trotted away from Queen's Park in Toronto, and they went up the highway, and they settled in Ottawa. Yes, they helped the Trudeau government, newly elected Trudeau government, they helped them draft the legislation and create the federal carbon tax that we are now paying. So once again, real slow. It was the folks within the Ontario Liberal government who screwed up their energy program so badly that average normal people couldn't afford their hydro bills anymore. That same team were the ones who helped create the federal carbon tax, okay? This is really important to highlight because it shows you that it's come so full circle that if the Ontario Liberal leader is now saying that she too is opposed to a carbon tax, that we are winning on this issue, that people are realizing how much this is hurting them, that they cannot afford the carbon tax, period. Now, this isn't just happening in Ontario. Here in Alberta, this is happening as well. So right now, the UCP government, led by Premier Danielle Smith, has of course said, no, we're completely opposed to the carbon tax. We can't stand the carbon tax, not federally, not provincially, no way, no how. But what's really interesting is that NDP leader and former Premier Rachel Notley is stepping down as leader. She invented her own carbon tax, keep in mind. Hold my beer, I'm inventing an Alberta carbon tax and inflicting it on everybody and costing them more than $1 billion. That party, okay? They're holding a leadership race right now. Most of the people who are candidates running for leader of the Alberta NDP are also now saying, I too am opposed to a carbon tax. It's amazing. Provincially, if you look at other parts of Canada, we have the Liberal Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador opposing a carbon tax. We've got opposition leader there in Saskatchewan, so it's not just Premier Scott Moe. It's his opposition leader also saying, yeah, go stuff your carbon tax. We don't want it anymore. So the tide is really turning against the carbon tax. People are realizing that it's costing them way too much money. And they're not believing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau when he tries to gaslight them and say, oh, no, my carbon tax isn't making your life more expensive. It's in fact enriching you. You're magically getting back more than you pay in. Folks, number one, that doesn't make any sense. If you give the government a $10 bill, they cannot magically run it through layers of bureaucracy in Ottawa and through a wealth generation machine that doesn't exist under Parliament Hill and hand you back $20. That's not how this works, okay? That's just common sense. Further, if you want the heavy calculations, go check out the Parliamentary Budget Officer's report, okay? They're the arm's length government watchdog when it comes to budgeting and money. They sat down and they did the math. They crunched the numbers, okay? They pulled out their calculator, okay? The average Alberta family will be out more than $900 this year, net, with the rebates already factored in, because of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's carbon tax. Once again, the PBO has done the math. The average Alberta family will be out more than $900 this year with the rebates factored in, thanks to the carbon tax. All this is to say, folks, is that we're winning on this issue, but we haven't won yet. So keep up the pressure. Keep phoning your member of parliament. Keep phoning your MLA or your MPP provincially, okay? Because it apparently really matters. We've now got 7 out of 10 provincial premiers pushing back on Trudeau's carbon tax. So we as the people, this is how this works in politics, we need to keep up our end of the bargain. Keep up the pressure. Keep making the phone calls. Keep sending the emails to your local politicians. You tell them to get rid of this carbon tax. Tell them to scrap it entirely. Tell them you don't want a provincial carbon tax coming home to roost. And in fact, if you want to really increase the pressure, you tell the politician that this carbon tax issue is so important to you that you are willing to door knock against them on the issue of the carbon tax next election. Tell them you're going to get a group of your friends together, 10 or 15 of you, and you're going to get together in their neighborhood, their riding, and you're going to door knock against them based on the carbon tax and say, so-and-so doesn't want to scrap the carbon tax. This is how we build momentum. This is how we win this fight. So if you need any help or pointers on how to do that, or if you want a bumper sticker or a t-shirt to scrap the carbon tax, head on over to our website, taxpayer.com. That's where we're fighting for taxpayers.